So just like you go get an annual physical, we like our tenants to know you're going to get an annual rent increase. And you only have to pretty much do three things in life in our book. One, you got to pay the IRS. Two, you have to pay your rent, and then you can die. Now, if you can do those three, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can't pay, you can't stay.
It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in.
The reality for many of you is that investment properties where you live have become absolutely unaffordable. The good thing is there are many cities throughout the country with affordable properties, many even under 100,000. Starting on November 1st, I will be hosting a 4-week intensive virtual workshop that's going to teach you how to buy your first out-of-state investment property. We're going to talk about how to find the right location, how to build a team you can trust, creative financing, finding and analyzing properties, and so much more. You deserve to invest in real estate. You deserve to build wealth for your family. It's simply a matter of having the right information. I definitely want to see you there. So if you're interested, go to outofstatemoney.com/workshop, and I look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. If you haven't already, if you're on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share with someone who can get some value out of this. If you're on audio, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and review. Excited about this interview today. This has been a long time coming with KAYR out of New York City. Our first interview was episode 62. So, man, appreciate you joining in person, and we're live in Brooklyn.
I'm so excited to be here, honored. This is actually one of my favorite podcasts in the whole world. So it is great to have you come from California to interview some of the people in the Philadelphia, New York area. So this is dope.
Definitely, man. So last time we spoke, you recently left your job. You had about 135 or so units at that time. And so we were talking about that journey, which was great, and definitely encourage everyone to check that episode out. But talk to us about what's been going on with you the last 2.5 years.
Well, it's been pretty much a roller coaster in a good sense, like going to Six Flags and you're getting to get on your favorite rides. No one's pushing you behind or telling you got to wait in line. So I went from working on Wall Street, which is pretty cool, and I stopped in September 2020. And I used to have like 105. Now I have over 120 rental units. And it's been a crazy shift where we started to KJ Consulting, where we had 0 followers on IG, and now we have over 50,000. So that's been really exciting. I've done over 100 interviews on social media, whether it's on YouTube, IG, or what have you, and also some national programs like Market Watch and NPR. So it's been really, really crazy. And I'm writing 2 books, one about my life and also one about real estate, and speaking, and also still buying real estate. So it's just been quite a journey the past couple years.
One of the things that I like about your journey is that you scaled in a sustainable way that a lot of people can replicate. So you bought single family homes over a period of years, and then you kind of made a big splash during the last few years that really, got things going. So can you talk a bit more about that? Because on social media, everybody buys 30 doors every month.
Yes.
And so I would love if you could talk a bit more about how the average person can do something similar to what you did.
Yes. So I started in my mid-20s. In 2009, I bought 1 single family home. And by 2018, I got to 9 rental units. And so some people say, KAYR, you're moving too slow. You've been doing this real estate thing for over 9 years. Why do you only have 9 doors? And I said, I'm going to run my own race at my own pace, because at one point I was homeless. One point we didn't have food and all these different things. And I said, when I do get some money, I'm going to protect it. The number one rule of investing for me is first return of investment. I want to make sure that my money come back to me, and then I'll focus on return on investment. So 2009, I got to 1 unit. 2018, I had 9 rental units. 2019, I got to 35 rental units. 2020, I got to 105 rental units. So during the summer of 2020, I bought 70 rental units. The reason why I took my time is because I didn't want to use hard money lenders, because I wanted to use a more traditional lending. And I also wanted to live off my 9-to-5 job. So I lived off my 9-to-5 job, and I was able to master the process of buying, rehabbing, and renting and refinancing properties. So all that time, I'm making money, because when you buy real estate and you hold it, you're paying down the debt. You're also getting the tax benefits. You're also getting the cash flow. And what was so beautiful is that you're benefiting from appreciation as well. So those 4 drivers were helping me. So when I got to year 9 and 10, I had a few $1,000,000 worth of equity and also several $100,000 worth of cash reserves that then I can start buying apartment buildings. So that's when in 2019, I bought a 6 unit, I bought a 12 unit, I bought a 5 unit, I bought a triplex. And then the following year, I got bigger. I bought a 12 unit, I bought a 9 unit, I bought a 14 unit, I bought a 24 unit apartment building, just to name a few. So I was very methodical because I think you need the 3 R's, which is 1, a track record, and then you're gonna build relationships, and then your reputation will precede you. And so that was the plan I had took.
Definitely. And I love that because, online it's just like this big race. Like everyone is trying to get as much as they can, as fast as they can, where the other side is like a lot of those people might be over leveraged. A lot of those people may not be making any money at all, even if they have all these units that they claim to have. So, I think it's easy to replicate the model of slowly growing over time.
And then the model that I use is the opposite. Everybody tell you go run and go get an LLC to buy your property. I was completely against that when I did my research. And what I learned is that prior to like 2009, prior to like 2011, 2012, you could only get 4 mortgages in your personal name. And the government changed the rules after the Great Recession and said you can get 10 mortgages in your personal name. The reason why is when you get mortgages in your personal name, the government knows that there's so many benefits and they didn't want investors to take advantage of it. But that was like the best thing since sliced bread for me, because I was like, whoa. So you're telling me if I get it in my personal name, my interest rate is lower than if it's in an LLC. I get 30 years fixed. My closing cost is lower than if it's in an LLC. My insurance premium is lower if it's in my personal name versus an LLC. I said, what? You get down payment flexibility. Whether you could put, if you're a veteran, put 0% down. You have the NACA program, 0%. If you're a doctor, a lawyer, a medical professional, they have 0% programs. And then even if you don't live in a property, you could put 15% down. I was like, well, what? They have this construction product as well. I said, there's so many benefits. I'm putting myself in my personal name. And a lot of people say, but KR, what about the risk? When you get an LLC, you still have to get insurance. When you buy in your personal name, you get insurance, but you can get an umbrella policy where I say is, when I look out the window, it's about to rain, I don't only put my raincoat on, I also get my umbrella. So just get an umbrella policy. So that's what I tell a lot of people when they start, focus on the cash flows because your cash flows will be much higher. The LLC, you gotta put 20% down, you gotta pay for an extra tax filing. So get your feet wet, learn the business, and then I eventually start buying properties through my LLC in 2019.
Got it, man. I like that you mentioned that too, because this LLC stuff is like running rampant, right? And I think what's being prescribed is that everyone should get an LLC right out the gate, and that's how you should buy your homes. That's just what's popular. But to your point, it's like it's most likely not the best thing for most people just starting out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for you to come up with 3.5% or 0% and do the NACA program, depending on where you live in the country, and get a 1 to 4 unit. Where at least you get a little extra money that it can cover. Or even if you don't need that program, you could put 5% down, 3%, get a conventional loan. Don't even have to pay PMI. So who got 20% for all this stuff? It's fancy. Yeah. It's just not realistic.
So something that we've talked about a whole bunch is Section 8. And so, how the program is running, all those things. So what's your take on Section 8? And is it something that you think you'll ever use in your rental portfolio?
I think the Section 8 program in many ways I know for sure it's not for me, but in many ways some investors do like it. And some investors like it because the government will pay like 70 to 100% of the rental income depending on the tenant. But from my experience, Section 8 has too much regulation for me. So for instance, if you do the Section 8 program, they're going to put, for zip codes, they have a certain amount that you can charge for rent based on what Section 8 think the rent should be, the government. The other thing is the government's going to send someone into your property to inspect it prior to someone moving in and also on an annual basis. So therefore, you may have an apartment ready to be rented, but depending on that local jurisdiction, it may take 30 days, 60 days. When you have a market-ready tenant, you can get your money immediately. The other thing is that Section 8 will have restrictions on how often, how much you can raise the rent. So what about if I just put all this money to fix this thing up? I want to raise my rent by like 50% because I'm a businessman. I'm not a church. I'm not the government. I'm running a business. And Section 8 will say you can only raise the rent by 2%. Or you got to put in an application, like in Philadelphia right now, the Section 8 applications, if you want a rent increase, they're still in, I think, June or July of 2022. So your application is going to be late. Even though you just bought this property and you want to request the rent to go up, say it's renting at $1,100, but it really should be $1,500. You submit an application to Section 8. They're a year behind. Then they'll get to you, and then eventually they'll say whether we're going to give you the $1,500 or $1,400. So I'm like, oh, hell no. If you're a private landlord, you'll be able to tell those tenants 30-day notice. If they're on a month-to-month lease or whenever their lease expires, rent will be $1,500, or you guys can just move out. I don't have to wait for the government. So those are some of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of Section 8, because it's too much regulation, too much red tape.
Got it. It's funny. I think I may have told you this on a property I recently purchased. I'm like, you know what? And he was telling me not to do it. But on a property I recently purchased, I was like, you know what? Let me just at least see what the process is. I may not do it, but let me just see how it's run. So I called. I'm like, I'm a landlord, whatever. There's the information. They're like, all right, we can send you the owner's packet. Give us the address. I gave the address. They never sent the packet. So that told me everything I needed to know about how the program, at least in that city, is being run. And it's probably similar all across the country.
Yeah, it can be messy, but some people don't mind the messiness or the delay. And some people, their properties are in crime-ridden neighborhoods, and where they have a lot of dilapidated houses where a lot of people don't want to live at all. So therefore, for those investors, they think that that's all they can get. But if you know that you're delivering an outstanding product, what we do at KJ Consulting is we give our tenants a champagne experience, and they pay liquor prices. So if you know you have a good product, you're confident that you're going to be able to find good tenants that can meet your high criteria.
Definitely. And to your point about the locations where some Section 8 properties are, there are a lot of landlords don't even take it, especially in many cases as you get to like nicer areas. A lot of times those folks look for market rate tenants. So I think for the person with the voucher, it's almost limiting them. It is. As to what kind of community they can raise their family in.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people don't like about the Section 8 program is that over like 90% of landlords across the country are not big fans of Section 8. So therefore, the people that do get the voucher, they're kind of limited. And then some cities actually let landlords deny people with Section 8.
Yeah, I think it kind of needs an overhaul on all sides, in my opinion, because
probably does.
There's probably a good amount of landlords who would be open to using the program, but it's just administratively a complete mess. And also, it's for the tenant, it's helping you, but is it really helping you? Like in the long run, like if you can't really choose the community you live in, the kind of environment your kids are in, and you can only go to the landlords who take the voucher, and that's already like a small portion of people. So
it's difficult. That's why I'm not in politics.
Yeah. I think there definitely needs to be some work done. What about other type of similar programs like vouchers and stuff?
Well, I think that other programs are there now. Nonprofits are less. I would be open to nonprofits and stuff like that, because some nonprofits, whether it's an organization like against abused women or veterans or stuff, those programs are not like Section 8.
Yeah.
So they're more localized, more focused, and less red tape.
Yeah, that makes sense. You spoke earlier about increasing rent, and you actually had a pretty direct conversation with me, telling me you need to increase that rent. And so a lot of times when you acquire properties, do you acquire them in distress where they're at low rents and need to be fixed, things like that? So
that's our strategy, is that we are focused on value add opportunities. So we always buy properties that actually have been undermanaged. The rents have not been increased, and the properties are not always in the best condition. So what we go in is we renovate the exterior and the interior, and we also evaluate each of the tenants and decide if they can move forward. And then we do a cash out refi for our property. So that's pretty standard. And the rent increase, we like to tell people, the way we look at it is like a business. Every year, your insurance goes up, your property taxes go up. all your bills, when you go see the doctor, that bill has gone up. So therefore, it is only fair that everybody get used to increases. So just like you go get an annual physical, we like our tenants to know you're going to get an annual rent increase. And you only have to pretty much do 3 things in life in our book. 1, you got to pay the IRS. 2, you have to pay your rent, and then you can die. Now, if you can do those 3, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can't pay, you can't stay.
Yeah. What's that conversation like with the tenant who, I'm sure you have plenty of examples, but it's like a couple $100 increase, let's say. You know, you've upgraded the unit, you've upgraded everything, and this is the new price. Like, what is that interaction like?
We do not negotiate with tenants. It's just like when you go to Apple and you go buy that iPhone, you can't call Steve Jobs or someone and say, Tim Cook and say, can I get a reduction? No, you see the price, that's what you get. So some landlords negotiate with tenants. We do not negotiate with tenants. This is the price, and we tell you the reasons. Your rent has increased because all of our expenses have gone up, and your late fee has gone up as well. So, and we're going to collect the difference in the security deposit as well because of the new rent. And we don't have a discussion. Yeah. It's black and white.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you find that there's a lot of turnover, or do most people stay and just pay whatever?
Most people stay because if you do a good job on the front end with this business, especially long-term tenants, you have to spend so much time evaluating your tenants up front. So this is just our philosophy. A lot of people don't do this. What we do is we interview the tenant. First, we make you fill out the application, background check, all these different things, criminal check. Make sure call 2 of your former landlords, call your current employer, ask for bank statements from the last 3 to 6 months. So it's almost like you're applying to college. And then we have like a grid. We give you points, and then you advance to final rounds. If you advance to final rounds, we'll do an interview at the location that's on your ID. We will not meet you at Starbucks or at Boo Boo House or Grandma House. We want to interview you and anyone else that's going to live in that house. And if we feel as though like the way you keep the house, or the porch is dirty and all these different things, then it's not a match. So we spend so much time, and then we sit down, go through the lease with you to make sure you understand it. Because we invest so much in that process, we have less turnover. Now, when I buy properties that's already occupied and I didn't select those tenants, yes, we may decide to do wholesale and get rid of all of them eventually over time in stages. But the ones that we select tend to stay, and they're okay with the increase because we're giving them the top class service.
That makes sense. You mentioned as well, like sometimes you let tenants go in stages. Like, how do you figure out how many, let's say there's 30 tenants you identified in the building who you want to move on. How do you figure out how fast to do it? How many?
What we do before we buy a property, a part of our due diligence, after we do our paperwork and we have the contractor work through all the properties, we also have one of my property managers meet with every single tenant and talk to them, see how they live, and we write notes on each one. And then we're going to look at when their leases expire, and we're going to have things staggered so that you never have 100% vacancy at the same time. And also, while we're doing due diligence, if we come across someone that's trapping or doing crazy stuff, we tell the seller, get rid of that tenant or we're going to walk away from the whole deal.
I like that. I think it can be very daunting for people to think about, like, having to, evict someone or whatever the case is. But I like the strategy you mentioned because it's objective, right? You kind of look at, the leases, look at the notes you have and all those things.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Something else I think is great that I would like you to talk a bit more about is you've pretty much built everything in-house. So from like the cleaning, from the property management, and everything really, with a lot of your family members. And I would love if you could shed some light on that and just how you've been able to grow that and put them in position over the years.
Yeah, I thought it was so important, like growing up, I realized that I could focus on generational wealth, which is like, to me, a north to south concept where I get an asset, then I pass it down 30 or 40 years. But what I said is we need something that's transformative. So I came up with this concept, a transformational wealth, where it's a east to west type of concept, where I become successful in real estate. I convince my brother to get his real estate license. Then he's able to get the 3% commission off a $1 million deal that I do. But not only that, convince another family member to get a real estate license. My nephew's working on his, and his fiance is working on getting hers. But also go to my aunt and say, hey, look, we need cleaning. My aunt used to run a cleaning business. How about I have you do some cleaning for me? And then my other brother gets involved with the cleaning. And then my brother Champ, his father-in-law is good with landscaping. So we have a conversation with him. So he helps with the landscaping. And then my stepmom, who is 76 years old, she helps with property manager. And so we're bringing all these pieces together. And also some of my nieces and nephews are interns we use the app Buildium. So they're learning they're calling tenants, they're learning the whole business, and you give them equity in your LLCs because these are my tables, so I get to invite whoever I want. They don't have to put money. And then you're also able to help them in terms of the knowledge. So for me, it was so important, not necessarily just make myself extraordinarily wealthy, but also my business partner, like Jody, who had 0 doors in 2018. Now he has over 60 doors. Before he wasn't a multimillionaire, now he's a multimillionaire. So I want to be able to help people who are around me become successful. My brother was able to buy a house. He was able to gift his in-laws, so now they own a duplex. So it's creating wealth. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very unique concept because Black people usually don't work together in general, especially not with family. So,
Well, I think that it's a lot of Black people do work together, but it's not visible and it's not put on display. And so you have a long tradition of it happening, but we don't really display it. So sometimes we just display the bad, but we forget about all the good that's going on behind closed doors. And so that's why I really wanted to celebrate this and highlight a family. You necessarily don't have to turn your back on your family. And you don't necessarily make the family members be like you. I went to Ivy League school, worked on Wall Street and everything, got an MBA. I meet people where they are. I don't pull you to me. I said, what do you do best? What do you like? And let's go from there.
Yeah, I like that because you put your team together based on their interests, based on their strengths and experience, and it's almost like a natural position you put them in. And I think it's great. I mean, what's the alternative? Like going outside to people that you may not be able to trust who are able to have the same skill set, but there's not that trust, there's not that relationship.
But the other thing is that what we tend to do a lot is we give complete strangers a second chance. And what I mean is that if a stranger met you up at work, you'd be like, oh, I'll just have that person come back tomorrow. But let that be your brother or your mother. You say, oh I can't believe this. You messing up again? But if it was a complete stranger, you wouldn't care. You let them you let them grow into the position. If it's your family member and you see them dancing on IG, shaking their booty or on Facebook or on TikTok when they supposed to have been at work that one day, you're gonna say, that's why I can't hire my family. But you know what? If that was one of your employees, you'd be like, well, that's none of my business. It's none of your business to be in your family member business. Sometimes they're gonna have off days. Sometimes they're gonna have great days. Sometimes they're gonna make mistakes. Now, you gotta figure out the ones that you think share your values and your principles and they're trainable, right? Because you can't just accept everybody. You gotta have some type of criteria.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you manage everything? Because you got a lot going on. Yeah. You got a lot of properties, team members, and things like that. How do you make sure the train is still going every day?
Well, the thing is that what I loved about my training of going to school and working in these intensive jobs is they really stress systems and processes. And so all that training I got, I applied to what I do on a regular basis. So what happened is a lot of us, we focus so much in the business that we're running the business every single day. You're on the Home Depot doing all these different things. And we don't realize that you have to step back so that you can focus on the business. So when you focus on the business, you get to understand what's going on. So I decided to get off the football field. Don't try to be the coach and the trainer and get in the owner suite. So now I can focus on hiring the best coach, the best trainer, focus on the big picture. Are we hitting our targets? Are we raising money? What is the branding? So I'm more focused on that. So therefore, I'm sitting back. When I first started, I used to do everything on Excel. Then I said, let me get an app. So I start using Buildium. And then I said, on Buildium, it's almost like QuickBooks. So I can do my accounting journals. I can actually upload all the leases and all these different things. So it made the business really scalable. And then I said, if I can train family members on how to do this, you can have 1 or 2 people doing your whole Buildium and they can manage thousands of apartment units. You're like, and we could do outside units. So then you also start saying, like at Goldman Sachs, we had a Bible, like the valuation book, Where if you're a new person, you just flip through it, it'll tell you how to do a DCF, a LBO, all these stuff. So I said, I'm going to create that for KJ Consulting for my businesses. So now family members know if you're a new intern, these are the steps you take. This is the script you call when tenants are late. You don't even have to think about it. This is what these are the templates that you send out. So we have templates that we send out. You're late, first rent late notice, second rent late notice, 10 days to pay rent. So everything becomes standardized. And then you start having the confidence to have a small team where you allow them to make decisions because you're so confident that you can clean up whatever they mess up. And so that enables you. So like my business partner, Jody, he runs KJ Consulting the day to day. I step in, I do stuff, but I give people their own responsibility, give them enough wiggle room and rope so they can strangle themselves. But I'm okay with that because that's how you're able to grow. You got to learn how to delegate, but you also have to know how to put processes and systems in place and know how to grow a business. Most people, it's a hobby, so they're not focused on growing a corporation.
Yeah, I like that. I think one thing you mentioned stood out, that it's important to delegate, which I think for a lot of people is intuitive. I think the missing piece though is having that playbook, having that specific process for everything you're asking the person to do instead of expecting them to already know how to do what's in your head. So I like that you do that. And you know, if someone's out, someone else can substitute quickly because there's a playbook, right?
Yes.
There's a whole roadmap for how you do the job and you figure the rest out.
Yeah. So you spend a lot of your time, once you get to my level, how do I create handbooks? How do I make videos so people can just watch them and understand what to do? Do I have just templates so people can just copy and paste? And if you spend time training people, the buck stops with you. So if you want it to be successful, don't get mad at everybody else saying, oh man, no, it's your fault because you didn't teach them the right thing. So I focus on, I want to teach you to think like I think.
Something else I want your take on is investing in a landlord-friendly state versus a state, say like California, that's not so friendly to landlords. For those who may not know, on August 1st was the deadline to pay about 18 months of back rent from the beginning of the pandemic. And there's another deadline coming up. And there's people who haven't paid in over 3 years. I'm sure it's not just in California. And so what that brought to my mind is like, it's important for people to know what the landscape is like in the state you may want to invest in. So we'd love it if you could share some more of your insight on that.
We are big fans of investing in only landlord-friendly states. And some people throw the term around, but we don't really know what it means. Landlord-friendly state mean that it's really easy for you to enforce a lease. So if the tenant breaches the lease, you should be able to evict that tenant as soon as possible. You should be able to increase the rent when you feel deemed. That's just my personal opinion. I like those landlord-friendly states that it's easy to evict and easy to enforce the lease if they break the rules. But I also like when they have rules that protect the tenants. So we want to have some rules that protect the tenants, but there has to be a balance. I don't want to be in a state where I don't get paid for 3 months. I'm not not even 3 months, 3 years. I'm not in a social security business or government business. I want my money. I have bills. I have to put food on the table for a lot of people. So for me, I avoid cities that have rent control. I avoid cities that make it extremely hard to evict people. I do not like that because I think that we're providing a service and we should get paid for it.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, balance is important. Like some areas are all on one side completely and the landlord has no rights. Like your hands are tied whenever there's an issue, wherever there's a change in the economy or what have you. But the thing is, like, people think every landlord has 100, 200, 300 units, whereas most people, mom and pop, have
That's
a property
true.
or two,
Most
trying to get some extra money to do what everybody else is trying to do. It's not like, it's usually not somebody who is super wealthy yet. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the misconception. A lot of people think, well, you got it. You know, you should be able to pay everything on your own if you bought the property and all this stuff. So I think one side needs to hear the other and empathize more as well, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's frustrating just seeing the rhetoric that's out there regarding landlords.
Oh yeah, and I think there's a lot of miseducation. So like your platform is educating people that everyday people can be landlords.
Yeah, definitely. something else I would love to hear your opinion on. A lot of people, there's a lot of creative financing strategies, right? There's a number of things you can do within real estate to get funding to buy a business. Something that is everywhere right now is business credit. I feel like a lot of people are being misguided.
Yes.
As it relates to business credit and how to utilize it for real estate and business and things like that. What's your take on business credit and just how it's being communicated?
Well, I think that the way you would think that business credit is like a Black Friday sale, where everybody's like, "You better come through. You. This ain't gonna last forever. This is one time, once a year. Get all the money you can. If you can get $250,000 today, take it. You'll figure out what to do with it. That is very dangerous." So I think on the one hand, we're pushing business credit in the wrong way. A lot of people are pushing the wrong way, saying you can get like 50 credit cards and on each credit card get $5,000 or something like that in your business. And you don't worry about being a personal guarantee. This place will give you $2,500. This place over here give you $500. You add them all up. You did all this work to get $5,000, mind you, just so you be no guarantee. And so I think that it's being misguided, where we first should teach people. Instead, I don't like using the word play. What I say is, look, if you're ready to learn how to get paid, then you probably should hang out with me, because I'm gonna teach you how to run a business, not run a play. So you take out this credit card and this line of credit, or the credit card is like 12 months or 8 months, and the clock is ticking. You have no business idea. You haven't even found the real estate. You don't know your team. You don't know how you're gonna screen tenants. You don't even know how you're gonna flip this property. So I think it's very misguided that I think things done well are done soon enough. So I would first say is figure out what is going to be your niche if you're going to run a business. Then figure out how you're going to finance that business on your own before you go look outside. And only look outside when it's absolutely necessary. So I think that when you start with nothing, it makes you a little bit hungry and makes you think creatively. And then when you come up against the wall, then we decide to go and get business credit. But it shouldn't be get business credit, then come up with the business idea. It should be get the business going. If we run into some trouble or we build a track record, then we can go and get business funding, whether it's a credit card or a line of credit. And people don't realize that if you take your time, I was just, my business partner, Jody, was telling me about this line of credit that Chase is doing, which is pretty cool. And I applied for it. I don't necessarily need the money, but I applied for it. And the guy had said, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. I told him, I said, I don't mind getting like 150 or something like that line of credit. And he said, it's going to take us 24 hours. Always take this. I'll be able to give you an answer. He called me back in 15 minutes. And he said, you have tier 1 credit. The bank said they're going to give you 120,000. And you don't have to submit any tax returns or anything like that. And I mentioned that not necessarily to impress you, but to impress upon you that if you have a track record and you're an established business person, you have good credit and all these different things, the money will come to you. You only need 2 things out of 3 to be successful in real estate, which is 1 is knowledge and 2 is grit. Apply yourself to something, stick to at least a year, don't give up. Whatever the world throws at you, keep coming out the corner swinging. And the third thing, you'll get the money. So a lot of people, they don't understand. They want to just do the business credit, get the money. No, focus on the first 2 things. The money will come.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think the one thing that people need to understand is utilizing those things, you need to pay it back. So to your point, you got to have a plan. There should be stuff in place and in motion already. And that could be what takes us to the next level. But you shouldn't just be using that money if you do receive the credit or whatever the case is without a plan to pay it back. Otherwise, when that zero APR is up.
When you get bigger money, you're going to be the personally guaranteeing it. That's what a lot of people leave out. The little money, they give you $500. You can't do much with that. Of course, they probably don't come after you. But when you were talking about we're getting into the 40s, the 50s, the 100,000, 200,000. You're personally guaranteed a lot of this money as you're a new business person. So don't just go on and just blow through it because it's going to have back blow.
Definitely. Talk a bit about KJ Consulting and just some of the things y'all are doing.
So what we do at the way we started KJ Consulting is I used to just have private students, and Jody, my business partner, was one of them in 2018, and then became a debt investor, and then he became one of my equity investors, bought some buildings with me in 2020. And I'm having a good time doing my life. I'm not on IG like that at all, really. And he says, KR, yo, we should start a business together on IG. All the stuff you've been teaching me and other people, why don't we teach the world? I was like, well, I don't really need to do that. Like I'm sitting pretty, I'm at 105 units. So we didn't start KJ Consulting until after I was over 100 rental units. And most people on IG, they start when at one, you get to see their whole journey. So I'm at the end of the road. I said, I guess we'll start. And we had 2 people. And so we started KJ Consulting as a way to teach people how the right way to invest in real estate. Where you don't have to spend $1,000 on a real estate education to make $1,000 from it. So we created like the KJ Consulting bundle, which would teach you how to analyze markets, analyze individual deals, teach you all the key terms, how to take money off of LLC, off of credit cards, how to form LLCs, all these different things. Also teach you about time management, also give you the Excel analyzer that I've been using since 2009, all of that for $49, one-time payment. People are like, what? That should be thousands. What is going on? It's because I make my money off of my rental business. So therefore, I don't have to overcharge people who are trying to break into the industry. I tell them, why don't you save that money for your first down payment versus giving it to me? I'm giving you the footstep, the layout, so that you know what to do, because I'm focused more on my legacy. I want it to be about the impact. It's like, wow, this guy's providing so much value. And so that's the second step we do for our mentorship is the KJ Consulting IG subscription. And we have a class every Tuesday. We record it and also multiple interviews. So we have over now, I think 70 recorded classes for our IG subscription. You only have to pay $4.99. You can watch all those videos whenever you want. And it's on different subjects, the HELOC, on debt service coverage ratios. And also we do property tours in the Philadelphia area, free of charge. You just come and you get to walk through properties free of charge. And also do free meetups and free pop-ups on IG. We'll answer any questions for 20 to 30 minutes for our IG subscribers for only $4.99. So that's less than 17 cents a day, versus a lot of people would charge you a whole lot for that. Some people charge a few thousand to do a property tour. Well, we've had a couple of them. We had good turnout. We'll spend like 3 hours, 4 hours with them at one of our properties, walk through apartment buildings, see how we did it, ask any questions you want, and no additional charge. And we upload our property tours too. So those are one of the videos that you can watch if you can't make it to the area. So we're just trying to change the way people do business, especially real estate investing, to help people just think differently.
Definitely, I love that. And I think the big thing is like people being able to see people who look like them, who they can relate to, do those things. So I think even taking it offline and getting into those property tours and things of that nature, it makes it real for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not even know somebody who they could do that with. So I think it's dope that you do that.
Yeah, and you don't have to spend all your life savings or take out. Some people would say, take out a credit card just to take my course. I'm like, no. You're not gonna be mad at me. So I'm gonna mess KR up. He made me take out 10 G's. And I ain't no problem. Get somebody else to do it.
Man, so let's talk about these interest rates. How have you been finding deals in this environment, and what tips do you have for somebody who is trying to get into the game but is just weary of the high interest rates?
Well, one thing we tell people is date the interest rate and marry the investment property. And what I mean by that is it's going to be so hard to find some good properties, but interest rates over time fluctuate. They go up and they go down. So therefore, you may find your favorite property right now. You may pay a high interest rate, which is like 7% is like the historical average. So you buy that, you pay that interest rate now, but later we can refinance, meaning that you get a lower interest rate. You can also just do a HELOC. You can take some cash out of that property, go buy another investment property. So I would say do not stress about the interest rate. It's going to be a lot harder to buy the property. So I bought a 12-unit rental property, 12-unit apartment building in 2020. And the owner next door, which owned a 5-unit, she bought it in 40 years ago, and 60, but she bought it in 62 instead of 63, right? No, we're in the thousands. So it would have to be in the 80s, right?
So like
So
83?
maybe like 83. Yeah, let's say 83, because, yeah, like 83. But she bought this at 82, because I bought this last year. So last year, this woman who lives next door, she doesn't live next door. She owns the 5-unit. We share the same parking lot. We share the same dumpster. She bought it for $58,000, this property. And she called the county to get in touch with me to say she wanted to sell to me because she knew the old owner of the 12-unit. Remember, I said your reputation will precede you. She said, I heard your process was really smooth with him. So she called me. She said, I want to sell it to you for $600. I said, no, I'll buy it for $400. We agreed in 5 minutes on $500,000. I bought the property. The reason why is because that property was not listed for over 40 years. That means the next person that bought that property can hold it for another 40 years, and I won't have an opportunity. I could have said, no, interest rates are too high. But like I said, you can refinance later. You can raise the rents, which can cover the mortgage. So there's so many different avenues. Now that I own that property, I already bought the 12-unit. I was able to rehab and increase the rents from like $700, $800 to over $1,100 for each apartment. Now this building had rents of like $600, $700. I already rehabbed one of them. Now it's rented at $1,100, $1,150. And I don't have to worry about my parking lot having craziness going on. We're using the same dumpster, so I get to cut that in half. It's so many benefits. That's why I said marry the investment property and date the interest rate. For someone that is just starting, I would say the thing you should focus on is think about being creative. So maybe using your personal name so you get a lower interest rate than if you're in the LLC. The other thing is think about seller financing. If you find someone that owns a property free and clear, they may be willing to do seller financing with you, and then you can refinance in a couple years.
Yeah, I like that. I think I've been encouraging people in that way too, who want to get into investing. Like, it's just, deals are still getting done every day. It's just about creativity, and it's still a numbers game. Like, real estate is always going to be objective. So you just got to keep going until you find something that meets your criteria. And in some cases, you may have to relocate yourself or just invest somewhere else if you want to continue to grow and to scale. But I think, I just don't want people to be discouraged because of the interest rates. And if you look at it historically, 7% is a pretty good rate.
Yeah,
historically.
It's not necessarily bad. Yeah, it's not. Rates were as high as like 18%, like in the 80s and stuff. So people were buying real estate then. Yeah. So the thing is, date the interest rate and marry the investment property if you can get your hands on one. It's so hard to find good property. So like in 2021, I didn't buy any real estate. Then in 2022, I bought 14 units. And this year, I'm pretty busy buying a lot of real estate. I'm gonna have a big announcement in a couple of weeks or months. So the thing is that you got to be ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Definitely. Do you find your deals like off market or through like title companies or different things? What's been your
I find
big
deals,
thing for you?
just like I accept blessings from everywhere. So if a prostitute wanted to pray for me, pray for me. If a doctor wanted to pray for me, pray for me. A drug dealer, I accept all those blessings. At this point, when you have a track record, you're finding deals multiple ways. So I find deals off the MLS, which is the multiple listing services online. I find deals through my attorney, through my title company, through relationships with other real estate investors. At this point, I am like the Ghostbusters. So like when there's something wrong or something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? When you have a property or a situation and you need someone to rescue you, you call KAYR, KJ Consulting, and we'll step in. And I'll tell you my price. And I said, it's not negotiable. You either take it or you leave it. It's up to you. And so I get calls when deals fall through. Someone else said, we were trying to sell these 3 houses. Every time I went to the bank, the sellers, prior buyers kept getting denied. They couldn't come with the money. I said, I'm glad you called. This is what I'm gonna give you. Or someone had an estate sale. Can you take this off? This is what I'm gonna give you. I don't even need to see it.
I love it, love it. Would you start a real estate fund?
I don't necessarily think so, but I am open to maybe like one of my mentees or one of my business partners. They probably can run with that because it could be an administrative mess. If I do, I will have to be very, if I do it, I'm not saying through a partner, like a partner or someone else, if that's their baby, I may help them and they can have a low threshold. But for me, it will be a very, very high threshold. You probably have to be a qualified investor. I want you to have a net worth more of $1 million outside of your personal residence. So it'll be 100% driven on making money. I know some people say, oh, you can start one to save the community. That's not my thing, but if I know someone that's doing it, I will help them.
Yeah. Do you think it would just be less of a headache?
Absolutely. That's
With
the
the
reason.
higher, yeah.
Yes, that's the reason why they have the higher threshold. I don't want people getting on my nerves off of that little tiny thing. I'm like, I have a rental property that can give me that amount of money that you gave me. And I'm gonna let you call me and be stressing me out. Oh, hell to the no.
For like $2,000 or whatever it is.
Yes. Oh, I'd be so pissed. I'd be so pissed. Don't even get me started. Y'all better have at least put 200K and 300K. I don't want none of that. None of that smoke.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine what it's like to have a fund or whatever you call it where the threshold is extremely low, and I mean the return the individuals are getting is not that much, and it's just different type of clientele.
Oh yeah, some people that's their thing. They're okay with that, but
Yeah.
I just don't want that. The pain in the butt. Some mutual funds have small thresholds, but I'm talking about when you have like a mission-oriented type of fund. That's when it gets a little bit more painful. Is it great if it's like 1,000 people, you don't really know anybody, and you have like a office, they call it 1-800 line and just leave complaints, but no thank you. I don't need that. I can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah, no, I get that, man. So what are the future plans? What are some things that you want to accomplish in the next couple of years?
Well, for me, I'm 100% focused on transformational wealth. So that's like the number one thing. So like one of my business partners who actually used to just be, we call him Giovanni, was just a good contractor. One day he called me and said, he only owned like 2 properties at the time. He said, I want to sell one of my properties. And I said, why are you going to sell your property? You've been working for me for many years. Have you ever seen me sell anything? He said, no, but my credit's not where I want it to be, and I need this money. I can't get the money out of this property, because he put all his money into rehabbing it and into buying it, because he didn't use a hard money lender. And I said, why don't I just start an LLC together with you, and I can help you grow. And so he went from having 2 units last year to now I think we have like 12 together, our LLC. So it just grew up 6 times.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll use my leverage, the down payment, I'll pay for the rehab and all those different things. So therefore, when you get older, you won't have to worry, you'll be able to retire. You have a lot of rental units. And so for me, I'm focused on creating transformational wealth for family members and close friends. So I'm doing LLCs and giving people ownership, teaching about the business. I'm writing the book about my life, about the book about real estate investing. So I have a larger impact, of course, because I've been successful. And once you get to a certain level of scale, you generate a lot of cash flow. Of course, I'd probably buy some more real estate. That's like a byproduct. All right, you're sitting on a couple $100,000, you're gonna buy real estate. So that's gonna keep going. Like, So if I get to like 150, 200, 300, 400, 500 rentals, that's not out of the norm, because people, once they get to a certain status, they make enough money, they can just buy stuff. But more or less, I'm focused on the impact, the larger impact.
That makes a lot of sense, man. So you have very humble beginnings. You know, you had a lot of challenges and difficulties growing up, and you know, maybe had a point where you didn't know if you were gonna make it, and you've been able to be extremely successful and bring your family along with you. So what does that mean to you, just to see how far you've come from where you started?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, I count my blessings. When I went off to college, my brother, 1 year younger than me, he went off to prison for attempted murder for 12 years. And in my junior year, when I was in college, my sister was murdered by the father of her 3 children. And I had to decide, both of those pivotal moments, I had to decide, am I going to stay in Philly or continue to go to college? Am I going to just stay in Philly because this guy, he got caught, Lindell, put a hit out on my family? Am I going to stay with my family or what have you? My sister just passed away, everybody's depressed, or am I going to go back to college? I went back to college and I got all A's and I think 1 A minus my senior year, and then I went to go work for Goldman Sachs doing investment banking. My second year of business school, I lost my biological mother and my biological father in the same year. And I could have said, you know, I'm going to give up. But instead, for me, I was always purpose-driven. So I'm always focused on a bigger picture. How can I inspire? How can I improve? How can I touch other people's lives? And so that's what motivates me. And so I'm extraordinarily blessed. And in many ways, my life every day is like a movie, because our house did burn down. We went through so much stuff, moving around like at least 18 times before I turned 18, and I'm not a military brat. So when I sit back and I'm fairly still a young man, and I say, wow, this has been quite a run.
That's beautiful, man. I think it's very encouraging because there's a lot of people who have gone through things and grew up in similar circumstances and experienced a lot of the same things you had to. And I think just to see where you made it, man, just to see how far you've come and how much you're giving back to people and helping others be able to gain that knowledge, to be able to, build their own lives and portfolio, man. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of people just kind of are in their corner doing their own thing and not really reaching back to help anybody else. So I think, what you're doing is amazing.
Some people definitely are like that. But the thing is that nobody want to be coming home and everybody mad at you or envy to them. Oh, here he comes. Think he got all the money. Instead, everybody's like, oh, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Thank you for the check. Thank you for the this. Thank you for that. Yo, where we going to party this time? Okay, big celebration,
Yeah.
So it's quite a blessing to have family members that are happy for you and excited for you versus sometimes when you're really extraordinarily successful, you have a lot of envious family members that just make everything so uncomfortable. You be like, oh, I can't go home. They hate me. So I didn't want to go through that.
Smart man.
I was like, I don't want nobody hating me or trying to hit me with a car.
Definitely. Man, it's been a great interview. I'm really glad we got to do a part 2 in person.
Yes.
Do you have anything else you want to share with the listeners? Any encouraging words or any tips on their real estate journey?
What I would just say is, in order to do something that you have never done before, you have to become someone you have never been. So it's going to be very difficult to remain in the same mindset and doing the same things, expecting a different result. So if you know for sure that you want to break into this space, surround yourself with people who share your values, who can help you grow, and be vulnerable. Be willing to ask for help. Be willing to say, I don't know. It's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to do everything on your own. That's what I would say.
Love it. Well, man, thank you again. Appreciate you jumping on the show. I know all the listeners will get a whole lot of value out of it. So definitely appreciate you dropping by, man.
I had a blast, and I hope you guys follow KJ Consulting.
Yes.
KJ, what is it again? I always mix it up. KAYJAYCONSULTING, KJ Consulting. And on IG, we're also on TikTok, we're on YouTube. Make sure you check us out at our website, www.kjconsulting.net. Because we're just trying to change the game. I'm looking forward to just helping people learn how to do this business the right way.
Definitely. We'll have all that linked in the show notes. And thank you again to all of you for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you're on audio, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Thank you all so much. Look forward to hearing from you all soon.
What's up, y'all? Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for watching another episode. Definitely take a moment to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Also, visit our website, blackrealestatedialogue.com, and follow on Instagram at Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you soon.